The fluorescent lights hummed overhead like dying wasps as 17-year-old Lamar Williams stood in aisle 7 of the Houston Walmart, a worn chess set tucked under one arm and a dog-eared strategy book in his free hand. Nobody knew that in 3 hours, this same skinny kid in second-hand Nikes would become the face of a viral video that would shake corporate America to its core. The linoleum beneath his feet was sticky with spilled soda and the ghosts of 1,000 shopping carts. Lamar moved slowly between the shelves, his fingers tracing the spine of the chess manual he'd already memorized cover to cover. The book was falling apart, held together with electrical tape his grandmother had wrapped around it months ago when the binding first gave way. He'd read it 17 times, but today felt different. Today, he needed the comfort of those familiar pages. A woman's voice cut through the ambient hum of the store like a knife through warm butter. "Excuse me, are you going to buy that or just keep handling it?" Victoria Hartwell, wife of tech billionaire Marcus Hartwell, stood 3 feet away in her designer athleisure wear, her manicured nails tapping against her phone case. Her eyes swept over Lamar with the practiced disdain of someone who'd never been told no. "Yes, ma'am, I'm buying it," Lamar said quietly, his voice steady despite the familiar knot forming in his stomach. He'd worked double shifts at the community center all summer, teaching chess to kids from the neighborhood, saving every dollar for this moment. Victoria's laugh was sharp and cold. "Really? A chess set?" She glanced around, as if looking for an audience to share her amusement. "That's unexpected." The word dripped with implications that made Lamar's jaw tighten. He felt the heat creep up his neck, the same burning sensation he'd felt at tournaments when opponents looked at him like he'd wandered into the wrong building. "Yes, ma'am. Chess." "How interesting," Victoria continued, her phone now openly recording. "I suppose everyone has hobbies." She turned to a nearby shopper, a middle-aged man pushing a cart full of motor oil. "Can you believe this? Kids these days thinking they can just—" She let the sentence hang in the air like smoke. The man chuckled uncomfortably and moved away, but Victoria's voice followed him. "I mean, what would he even do with chess pieces? Probably trying to impress some girl, or maybe he thinks it makes him look smart." Her laugh grew louder, more confident. "Some people watch too many movies, you know." Lamar's fingers tightened around the book until his knuckles went white. The familiar weight of his grandmother's voice echoed in his head. "Baby, some folks gonna try to make you small. Don't you let them. You got a gift, and gifts are meant to be shared." She'd been gone 6 months now, but her words still anchored him when the world felt like it was spinning out of control. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to buy my book and board," he said, his voice quieter now but somehow more solid. "I'm not bothering anyone." Victoria's eyes narrowed. She turned to the gathering crowd, her voice rising with theatrical outrage. "He's been lurking around here for 20 minutes, just watching, looking at things he's not going to buy. It makes people uncomfortable, you know? This is a family store." The whispers started then, flowing through the small crowd like poison in a stream. Someone mentioned security. Someone else wondered aloud why kids like that were always up to something. Lamar felt the familiar sensation of becoming invisible and hypervisible at the same time, ignored as a person, scrutinized as a threat. The security guard arrived with heavy footsteps and heavier assumptions. Behind him came the store manager, a thin man with nervous eyes who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Son, we've had some complaints," the guard said, his hand resting casually on his radio. "Need to ask you some questions." What happened next would be dissected frame by frame across social media platforms, analyzed by legal experts, and turned into a case study at business schools. But in that moment, it was just a 17-year-old kid being searched in public while a woman with a designer purse live-streamed his humiliation to her followers. "Empty your pockets," the guard commanded, and Lamar complied, his movements careful and deliberate. Out came his wallet with its single $20 bill, 2 weeks of lunch money he'd saved, his phone with the cracked screen, a pencil stub worn down to nothing, and finally, a small metal pin that caught the fluorescent light. Dr. James Mitchell, professor emeritus at Rice University and former president of the U.S. Chess Federation, was buying batteries for his grandson's toy when he noticed the commotion. He'd been planning to grab his supplies and leave, maybe stop for coffee on the way home. Instead, he found himself frozen in place, staring at the pin in the young man's palm. It was a chess piece, a tiny golden knight, worn smooth by constant handling. But it wasn't just any pin. Doctor. Mitchell had seen that exact design before, had watched it being presented to the youngest person ever to earn it. His breath caught in his throat as recognition dawned. "Wait," he said, his voice cutting through the crowd's murmur. "Wait just a minute." All eyes turned to the elderly black man with the kind face and the soft sweater vest. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Sir, please don't interfere with security procedures." But Dr. Mitchell was already moving closer, his eyes locked on Lamar's face. "Son, what's your name?" Lamar hesitated, glancing between the security guard and this stranger who seemed to see him, really see him, for the first time all day. "Lamar Williams, sir." The name hit Dr. Mitchell like lightning. "Lamar Williams from 3rd Ward?" When the boy nodded, Dr. Mitchell's face broke into a wide smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the youngest chess grandmaster in American history." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's phone wavered in her hand. The security guard's radio crackled with static. Even the ambient store sounds seemed to fade into nothing. "I'm sorry, what?" the store manager squeaked. Dr. Mitchell's voice grew stronger, more confident. "This young man earned his Grandmaster title at 16 years and 4 months old. He's represented the United States in international competition. He runs free chess programs for underprivileged kids." He turned to Victoria, his tone gentle but firm. "Madam, you just accused one of America's brightest young minds of theft." Victoria's face cycled through several shades of pale. I didn't. How was I supposed to know?" "You weren't, Doctor," Mitchell said simply. "But that's exactly the point." The crowd began to shift, phones appearing from pockets and purses, not to mock this time, but to document. Someone whispered recognition. They'd seen Lamar's YouTube videos where he taught chess basics to kids who couldn't afford lessons. Another person remembered reading about him in the Chronicle, the feature story about the teenager who walked 3 miles each way to the chess club because his grandmother couldn't afford a car. "Is it true?" the store manager asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are you really?" Lamar nodded slowly, his fingers still clutched around the golden knight pin. "Yes, sir. Got my title last year." "Doctor," Mitchell stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Son, I've been following your career since you were 12. That game you played against Petrov in the Olympiad? Magnificent. But I have to ask, what are you doing here? Why aren't you at one of those fancy chess academies?" The question hung in the air like incense, heavy and unavoidable. Lamar looked down at his worn shoes, then back up at this man who somehow understood the weight of the question. "Can't afford it, sir. My grandmother, she passed 6 months ago. I'm living with my aunt now, working at the community center to help with rent. But I still teach the kids chess every day after school." "For free?" "Yes, sir. My grandmother always said, she said gifts are meant to be shared." Doctor. Mitchell felt something break open in his chest, something that had been locked away since his own childhood when teachers told him he was too smart for his own good, and college counselors suggested he be realistic about his future. "Young man, would you be willing to demonstrate your skills right here, right now?" Victoria scoffed. "This is ridiculous. You can't just set up a chess game in the middle of Walmart." "But Dr." Mitchell was already opening the chess set box that Lamar had been clutching. "Actually, madam, I think that's exactly what we're going to do." He looked around at the growing crowd. "Anyone have a table?" What followed was perhaps the most surreal chess match in the game's 1,000-year history. A maintenance worker brought over a folding table from the break room. Someone else found chairs. Dr. Mitchell, who had been ranked in the top 50 players in the world during his prime, sat across from a 17-year-old kid in a Houston Walmart while dozens of people pressed in to watch. The game lasted 23 minutes. Dr. Mitchell resigned on move 37, after a combination so beautiful and unexpected that he actually laughed out loud. The crowd erupted in applause, phones capturing every moment as the old professor reached across the table to shake Lamar's hand. "Extraordinary," Dr. Mitchell whispered. "Absolutely extraordinary." Victoria's live stream had been running the entire time. What started as her mocking a suspicious teenager had transformed into something entirely different. The comment section exploded with recognition, outrage, and demands for accountability. Chess Grandmaster began trending within the hour. "Ma'am, doctors, Mitchell said, turning to Victoria with the patience of a man who'd spent 40 years teaching difficult students. I think you owe this young man an apology. But Victoria was already backing away, her face flushed with embarrassment and something darker. I have to go. She pushed through the crowd, leaving behind a wake of uncomfortable silence. The store manager, meanwhile, was frantically texting his regional director while simultaneously trying to process what had just happened in his store. Mr. Williams, I am so sorry. Is there anything at all we can do? Lamar looked at the chess set, still arranged in the final position of his victory. I just wanted to buy my book and board, sir. On the house, the manager said quickly. Everything's on the house, but doctors... Mitchell had a different idea. Lamar, I'd like you to meet someone. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? The someone turned out to be Margaret Chen, CEO of the nation's largest chess education nonprofit. The tomorrow afternoon turned into a 3-hour meeting that ended with Lamar being offered a full scholarship to study at the Marshall Chess Club in New York, plus a salary to develop curriculum for underserved communities nationwide. Your grandmother was right, Dr. Mitchell said as they walked out of the nonprofit's downtown Houston offices. Gifts are meant to be shared. But first, you need to make sure you can share them from a position of strength. The viral video had been viewed 12 million times by then. Justice for Lamar was trending alongside our chess grandmaster. News crews were calling. Walmart's corporate headquarters had already issued a statement promising to review their security protocols and invest in bias training. But the real changes were quieter, more personal. Victoria Hartwell's apology video, posted 3 days later, was stilted and obviously scripted by lawyers. The comments were brutal. Her husband's company stock price dropped 2 points. Board members began asking uncomfortable questions about the family's public image. Meanwhile, Lamar found himself fielding calls from college recruiters, documentary filmmakers, and book publishers. The community center where he taught received a $50,000 donation from an anonymous source. Chessboards began appearing in schools across 3rd Ward. It's overwhelming, he confided to Dr. Mitchell during one of their regular phone calls. I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to play chess. Fame isn't the point, the old professor replied, but opportunity is. You have a platform now, son. What are you going to do with it? The answer came during Lamar's first major television interview. Sitting across from a network morning show host, he was asked about his experience of being racially profiled. The hardest part, he said, his voice steady despite the cameras and lights, isn't that one person treated me badly. It's knowing that somewhere right now there's another kid who loves chess as much as I do, but nobody's paying attention because of how they look or where they come from. He paused, his fingers unconsciously finding the golden knight pin on his lapel. My grandmother used to say that everybody's got something special inside them, but you can't share a gift if nobody gives you the chance. The interview clip was shared more than the original Walmart video. Within a month, the Lamar Williams Chess Initiative was established with backing from Dr. Mitchell's university, several tech companies, and surprisingly, Walmart itself. The retail giant pledged $2 million over 5 years to support chess programs in underserved communities. Sometimes the best apology is action, their spokesperson said. But perhaps the most meaningful change happened 6 months later in a different Walmart in a different city. A young Latina girl was browsing the book section when a security guard approached, suspicious of her lingering presence. Before he could say a word, the store manager intervened. She's fine, the manager said quietly. She's just reading. On the wall nearby hung a small plaque in honor of Lamar Williams, chess grandmaster, teacher, inspiration. Below it was a photo of that now famous game, surrounded by the faces of dozens of onlookers who had witnessed something extraordinary. Every mind deserves a chance to shine, the plaque read. Late at night in his small apartment in New York, where he was now studying at Columbia while teaching chess to kids in Harlem, Lamar sometimes pulled out his grandmother's chess book. The electrical tape was gone now, replaced by a proper binding courtesy of his scholarship fund. But he kept the original cover, worn smooth by years of handling. He thought about that day in Walmart often, not with anger, but with something approaching gratitude. It had taken a moment of injustice to reveal the justice that was possible when people chose to see beyond the surface. His phone buzzed with a text from one of his 3rd Ward students. Coach L, I won my first tournament today. The other kids didn't think I belonged there either. But I remembered what you taught us. The board doesn't care what you look like, only how you play. Lamar smiled, setting the book aside and reaching for his laptop. Tomorrow he had a conference call with educators in Detroit who wanted to start their own chess program. Next week, he was flying to California to consult with a school district about integrating chess into their curriculum. The work continued, one move at a time. Gifts are meant to be shared, he whispered to the empty room, and somewhere in the distance, he could swear he heard his grandmother's voice whispering back, "That's my boy." In the end, talent doesn't announce itself with fanfare or credentials. It whispers in quiet moments, waits in unexpected places, and reveals itself to those willing to look beyond the surface. The next time you see someone being dismissed or overlooked, remember Lamar Williams and ask yourself, what gifts might be hidden in plain sight?